The air conditioning unit made a strange noise again. Ji-hoon sighed and grabbed his toolbox from the maintenance cart. He had been working at Haven's rest station for 3 years now, and he knew every pipe, every wire, every corner of this place. The station floated at the edge of human space, right where their territory touched the Valorian Empire. Most people found it scary to live so close to aliens, who could start a war at any moment. But Ji-hoon just did his job and stayed out of politics. He crawled into the narrow tunnel that led to the cooling system. His flashlight beam cut through the darkness. The tunnel was cold and smelled like metal and old dust. He had fixed this same unit twice before. It always acted up when the station's systems worked too hard. Then he heard something. A small sound. Like breathing, but not human breathing. It was faster, more like panting. Ji-hoon stopped moving. He pointed his flashlight deeper into the tunnel. 2 large eyes reflected the light back at him. They were purple eyes. Not like any human eyes he had ever seen. They belonged to something small. Something that pressed itself against the tunnel wall. "Hello?" Ji-hoon said softly. He did not want to scare whatever it was. The thing moved. It was a child. Not a human child, but definitely a child. The small creature had blue-gray skin and wore torn clothing that looked expensive. The child's face was thin, too thin. Its lips were cracked and dry. Ji-hoon's heart beat faster. This was a Valorian child. A real alien child, here on the station, hiding in the maintenance tunnels. This could cause serious problems. Big problems. The kind that started wars. But the child looked so scared. Its eyes were wide with fear, and its small body shook. Ji-hoon thought about what his mother used to tell him when he was young. When someone needs help, you help them. It is that simple. Oh, he put down his toolbox slowly. "I will not hurt you," he said. The child probably did not understand his words, but maybe it would understand his tone. The child did not run away. It just stared at him. Ji-hoon carefully took out his water bottle. He opened it and held it toward the child. "Water. You need water." The child's eyes fixed on the bottle. Its small hand reached out, shaking. Ji-hoon moved closer, very slowly, and placed the bottle within reach. The child grabbed it and drank desperately, water spilling down its chin. "Easy, easy," Ji-hoon said. "Not too fast." When the bottle was empty, the child dropped it and started to cry. Not loud crying, but soft, broken sounds that made Ji-hoon's chest hurt. Without thinking, he reached out and gently touched the child's shoulder. The child flinched, but did not pull away. "Come on," Ji-hoon said. "Let us get you somewhere safe." He picked up the child carefully. It was so light, too light. The child's head rested against his shoulder as he carried it out of the tunnel. He needed to find Nari. She was the medical officer and his friend. She would know what to do. Ji-hoon walked through the station's corridors quickly but carefully. He kept the child wrapped in his jacket so no one would see what he was carrying. If the wrong person saw this child, they might try to use it for politics. Ji-hoon did not trust politics. He trusted Nari. He reached the medical bay and knocked on the door with his elbow. Nari opened the door. Her eyes went wide when she saw what Ji-hoon was holding. Is that? Yes, Ji-hoon said. "Can you help?" Nari pulled him inside quickly and locked the door. She cleared a medical bed and Ji-hoon laid the child down gently. The child whimpered and tried to grab Ji-hoon's hand. "It is okay," Ji-hoon said. "She is a doctor. She will help you." Nari scanned the child with her medical equipment. Her face became more serious with each reading. "Ji-hoon, this is not just any Valorian child. Look at these biomarkers. This is nobility. Maybe even royal family." Enarand. Ji-hoon felt cold fear in his stomach. "Are you sure?" "Very sure. This child is important. Very important." Nari started treating the child's wounds. We have to report this to Commander Taeyang. No, Ji-hoon said. Not yet. The child needs rest first. And food. And to feel safe. Nari looked at him. Ji-hoon, you know what will happen if we do not report this immediately. The commander will be angry. In crew, Ji-hoon will be angry. Then he can be angry. This child is not a political tool. Look at him. He is just scared and hurt. The child made a small sound. Both of them looked down. The child's purple eyes were fixed on Ji-hoon's face. It pointed at itself and said something in a language Ji-hoon did not know. It repeated the sound several times. I think that is his name, Nari said. She activated her translation device, but it could only give them a rough guess. It sounds like Kael. I think his name is Kael. Kael. Ji-hoon repeated. The child's face brightened just a little. Hello. Kael. I am Ji-hoon. The door suddenly opened. Commander Taeyang walked in with 2 security officers. His face was hard and angry. I heard we have an unauthorized life form in medical. Someone want to explain? Nari started to speak, but Ji-hoon stepped forward. I found him in the tunnels. He was dying. I brought him here. Taeyang looked at the child. His eyes narrowed. That is a Valorian child. Do you understand what this means? The Valorians have been searching for something. Their ships are everywhere. This must be what they are looking for. He is just a child, Ji-hoon said. He is a bargaining chip, Taeyang replied. This could give us leverage in the border negotiations. We could demand better terms, better trade routes, better... No. Ji-hoon's voice was quiet but firm. Taeyang stared at him. Excuse me? He is a child. Not a thing to trade. Not a tool. A child. The commander's face turned red. You are a maintenance engineer, Ji-hoon. You do not make these decisions. I could have you arrested for harboring an alien without permission. Then arrest me. But I will not let you use a scared child for politics. Nari put her hand on Ji-hoon's arm. Commander, the child needs medical care. At least let me stabilize him first. Then, we can discuss what to do. Taeyang looked between them. Finally, he nodded. You have 24 hours. Then I am reporting this to the Valorian fleet. And Ji-hoon, you will be the one to hand over the child. Since you found him, you can return him. Understand? I understand, Ji-hoon said. The commander left with his security officers. Nari let out a long breath. That was brave. And stupid, maybe, Ji-hoon said. He looked down at Kael, who had fallen asleep on the medical bed. The child's small hand was wrapped around Ji-hoon's finger. But it was right. Nari smiled sadly. You have a good heart, Ji-hoon. I hope it does not get you killed. Ji-hoon stayed by the child's bedside as Nari worked. He did not know what would happen tomorrow. He did not know if the Valorians would be grateful or angry. He did not know if he would be arrested or worse. But he knew one thing for certain. He had done the right thing. When he found a scared child in the darkness, he had chosen kindness. And he would keep choosing kindness, no matter what came next. Kael slept peacefully, his breathing slow and steady now. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, the child was safe. And that was enough for Ji-hoon. 3 days passed. Kael stayed in the medical bay, and Ji-hoon barely left his side. He took time off from his maintenance work, something he never did. But every time he tried to leave, Kael would panic and reach for him with those small, trembling hands. Nari had treated the child's wounds and dehydration. She said Kael would recover physically. But the emotional wounds were deeper. The child woke up screaming from nightmares. He flinched at loud sounds. He refused to eat, unless Ji-hoon sat beside him. You have become his anchor, Nari said on the 3rd morning. She was reviewing Kael's progress on her tablet. Ji-hoon was sitting on a chair next to Kael's bed, watching the child sleep. I just want to help him. You are doing more than helping. You are healing him. Nari sat down across from him. I have been working on translating his language. The computer finally has enough samples. Want to hear something interesting? What? Yesterday, when you came back with food, Kale called you something. The translator says it means protector or guardian. But the word he used, it is very close to their word for father. Ji-hoon felt something warm and painful in his chest. He thinks I am his father? Not exactly, but he trusts you like one. In his mind, you saved him. You are safety. Nari's expression became serious. Ji-hoon, there is something else. I ran deeper scans on Kale. He is not just noble. He is connected to the royal family directly. Very directly. How directly? I think he might be the queen's nephew. The heir to the throne. If I am right, the entire Valorian Empire is looking for this child. Ji-hoon looked at the sleeping boy. Kale looked so small and fragile. It was hard to imagine him as someone important, as someone who would rule an empire one day. Right now, he was just a scared child who needed love. The door opened. A tall woman walked in. She wore a security uniform, and her face was hard. Ji-hoon recognized her as Sora, one of the station's intelligence officers. I need to ask the child some questions, Sora said. He is sleeping, Ji-hoon replied. Then wake him. We need information. Where did he come from? How did he get here? What does he know about Valorian movements? He is a child, Ji-hoon said. His voice was calm but firm. Not a spy. He is a Valorian. They are all potential threats. Kyle stirred at the sound of the raised voices. His eyes opened and immediately found Ji-hoon. When he saw Sora, he pressed himself against the wall and made a frightened sound. You are scaring him, Ji-hoon said. Please leave. Sora's jaw tightened. Commander Taeyang will hear about this. After she left, Ji-hoon turned to Kale. The child was shaking again. Ji-hoon reached out slowly and touched his shoulder. It is okay. She is gone. You are safe. Kyle grabbed Ji-hoon's hand with both of his own small hands. He said something in Valorian. The translation device on Nari's wrist beeped softly. He is asking if you will leave him, Nari translated quietly. Ji-hoon felt his throat tighten. He knelt down, so he was eye level with Kyle. I will not leave you. I promise. Even without understanding the words, Kyle seemed to understand. He leaned forward and pressed his forehead against Ji-hoon's shoulder. It was a gesture of trust. Over the next 2 days, Ji-hoon and Kyle developed a routine. They would eat together, and Ji-hoon would teach Kale simple human words. Food, water, friend. Kale learned quickly. He would repeat the words carefully, his pronunciation getting better each time. In the afternoons, Nari would check Kyle's health, while Ji-hoon told him stories. He did not know if Kyle understood all the words, but the child loved the sound of Ji-hoon's voice. He would curl up and listen, his purple eyes focused on Ji-hoon's face. Ji-hoon noticed something interesting. When Kale felt safe, his skin would become a lighter shade of blue. When he was scared, it became dark, gray. It was like his emotions showed on his skin. One afternoon, Ji-hoon brought something from his workshop. It was a small toy he had made from spare parts. It looked like a bird, with metal wings that could flap when you pressed a button. He had painted it bright colors. For you, Ji-hoon said, offering it to Kale. Kale took the toy carefully. He turned it over in his hands, examining every detail. Then, he pressed the button. The wings flapped. Kale's eyes went wide with wonder. He looked at Ji-hoon and smiled. It was the first time Ji-hoon had seen him smile. The child hugged the toy to his chest. He said something in Valorian, his voice full of emotion. The translator said, "No one ever made something just for me." Ji-hoon felt his heart break a little. What kind of life had this child lived before? What kind of people did not make toys for their children? That evening, everything changed. Commander Taeyang came to the medical bay with another officer. His name was Hyun, and he worked in intelligence. "We know who the child is," Taeyang said. His voice was different now, more careful. "Hyun, explain." Hyun pulled up a holographic display. It showed the Valorian royal family tree. "This is Queen Isul. She rules the entire Valorian Empire. And this," he pointed to a branch of the tree, "is her sister's child, Prince Kael, the heir to the throne," Nari gasped. Ji-hoon just stared at the display. "The Valorian fleet has been searching everywhere," Hyun continued. "They have sent threats. They have demanded answers. They are preparing for war if they do not find him soon." "War?" Ji-hoon repeated. "Yes. They think we took him. They think this is some kind of human trick." Taeyang looked at Kael, who was playing quietly with his toy bird, unaware of the adults' conversation. "We need to return him immediately. Tomorrow morning, you will take him to the neutral zone. A Valorian ship will meet you there." Ji-hoon felt cold. "Tomorrow?" "Yes. We have waited too long already. Pack whatever the child needs. Be ready at dawn." Taeyang paused. "And Ji-hoon, good work keeping him alive. You may have prevented a war." After they left, the room felt very quiet. Nari sat down heavily. "Tomorrow? That is so soon." Ji-hoon looked at Kael. The child was making his toy bird fly through the air, adding sound effects. He looked happy, safe, like a normal child playing. "Kael," Ji-hoon called softly. The child looked up and smiled at him. That smile made everything harder. How could Ji-hoon explain to Kael that tomorrow he would have to leave? How could he break the promise he had made? He had said he would not leave Kael. But now, he had to do exactly that. That night, Kael had nightmares again. He woke up crying, calling for Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon held him until he calmed down. The child fell asleep in his arms, still clutching the metal bird. Ji-hoon did not sleep. He stayed awake, watching Kael breathe. Tomorrow, this child would go back to his people, back to a queen and an empire, back to a life Ji-hoon did not understand. But tonight, for just a few more hours, Kael was safe. He was loved, and he was not alone. Ji-hoon held the child a little tighter and wished dawn would never come. The shuttle was small and cold. Ji-hoon sat with Kael, strapped into the seat beside him. The child had not let go of his hand since they left the station. Nari sat across from them, her medical bag on her lap. The pilot, a young man named Do-yoon, focused on flying toward the neutral zone. Sora sat in the back, her weapon ready, watching everything with suspicious eyes. "Approaching neutral zone," Do-yoon announced. "I am seeing the Valorian flagship on sensors. It is huge." Ji-hoon looked out the window. At first, he saw only stars. Then, he saw it. The Valorian ship was enormous, bigger than anything he had ever seen. It looked like a massive blade hanging in space, dark and threatening. Smaller ships flew around it, like insects. Kael saw the ship too. His grip on Ji-hoon's hand became painful. His skin turned dark gray with fear. "It is okay," Ji-hoon whispered. But he knew it was a lie. Nothing about this felt okay. "They are requesting docking permission," Do-yoon said. "Should I accept?" Ji-hoon looked at Kael. The child was shaking. He leaned close to Ji-hoon's ear and whispered something. The translation device gave a rough interpretation. "Cold ones. They are the cold ones." "Who are the cold ones?" Ji-hoon asked gently. Kael pointed at the Valorian ship. Then he pointed at Ji-hoon. "Warm one. You are warm one." Ji-hoon understood. Kael was saying that Valorians were cold, emotionless, but Ji-hoon had shown him warmth, love. The things his own people did not give him. "We have to dock," Sora said from behind. "We have no choice." The shuttle connected with the Valorian flagship. The docking bay was massive and empty. Everything was gray, metal, and sharp edges. Nothing soft, nothing welcoming. As they walked down the ramp, Ji-hoon carried Kael. The child had wrapped his arms around Ji-hoon's neck and would not let go. Nari stayed close to them. Sora and Do-yoon followed, both looking nervous. The Valorian soldiers stood in perfect lines. They wore black armor and carried weapons that glowed with blue light. They did not move. They did not speak. They just watched, with expressionless faces. Then, the lines of soldiers parted. A woman walked through. She was tall and walked like she owned the universe. Her skin was the same blue-gray as Kael's, but darker, more purple in tone. She wore robes that looked both beautiful and deadly, with sharp edges and metal woven into the fabric. Her eyes were the same shade of purple as Kael's, but colder. Much colder. This had to be Queen Isul. She stopped 10 feet away from them. Her guards formed a wall behind her. She studied Ji-hoon and the others with a look that made him feel like an insect under examination. "You have something that belongs to me," she said. Her voice was smooth and sharp at the same time, like ice. "Your Majesty," Ji-hoon said. He tried to sound respectful. "We found the child. We kept him safe. We are returning him to you." "Kept him safe," the Queen repeated. "Or kept him prisoner." "Safe," Ji-hoon said firmly. "He was hurt and scared. We helped him." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Humans do nothing without wanting something in return. What do you want? Territory? Technology? Access to our trade routes?" "Nothing," Ji-hoon said. "We just want to give Kael back to his family." "Kael," the Queen said the name like she was testing it. "You learned his name?" "Of course. He is a person. He has a name." Something flickered in the Queen's eyes. Surprise? Confusion? It was gone too fast to tell. "Put him down," she ordered. Ji-hoon looked at Kael. The child's face was pressed against his shoulder. "Kael," Ji-hoon said softly. "Your aunt is here. You need to go to her." Kael shook his head. He said something in Valorian that the translator caught. "Do not want cold ones. Want to stay with warm one." The Queen's expression changed. For just a moment, she looked hurt. Then her face became cold again. "Release the child. That is an order." Ji-hoon gently set Kael down. But he kept holding the child's hand. Kael immediately tried to climb back up. Ji-hoon knelt down, so he was eye level with him. "Listen to me," Ji-hoon said. "You have to go with your aunt. She is your family. She loves you." Kael shook his head again. Tears ran down his face. "I know you are scared. But you are brave. You are so brave. And you have this." Ji-hoon pointed at the metal bird that Kael had stuffed in his pocket. "Whenever you feel alone, look at this, and remember that someone cared about you. Remember that you are loved." Kael threw his arms around Ji-hoon's neck one last time. Then, slowly, he let go. He turned and walked toward the Queen. His steps were small and hesitant. Queen Isul did not move to greet him. She just stood there, watching him approach. When Kael reached her, he stopped and looked up at her face. He did not try to hug her. He just stood there. The Queen knelt down. She touched Kael's face with one hand, checking for injuries. It was not a warm gesture. It was clinical, like a doctor checking a patient. "You are unharmed," she said. Kael nodded. Then he pulled out the metal bird and showed it to her. He said something in rapid Valorian, pointing at Ji-hoon. The Queen's eyes fixed on the toy. She took it from Kael's hands and examined it. Her fingers traced the painted wings. She looked at Ji-hoon with an expression he could not read. "You made this?" she asked. "Yes," Ji-hoon replied. "Children need toys. They need things that are just theirs." Valorian children do not play with toys, the queen said. Maybe they should. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The guards' hands moved to their weapons. Sora grabbed Doyun's arm, ready to run, but the queen did not order their deaths. Instead, she stood up, still holding the toy. Kael, go with the guards. They will take you to your chambers. No, Kael said. It was the first word he had spoken clearly, in human language. Want to stay? The queen looked genuinely shocked. You learned human words? Kael nodded. He pointed at Ji-hoon. Friend. Warm. Safe. The queen's mask of control cracked. For just a moment, pain showed on her face. Real. Deep pain. Then, she pulled the mask back on. Guards, take him, she ordered. 2 guards moved forward. Kael started to cry and call for Ji-hoon, but the guards picked him up and carried him away. His cries echoed through the docking bay until a door closed and cut off the sound. The silence that followed was terrible. Queen Isul turned to Ji-hoon. You, come with me. The rest of you, wait here. Your Majesty. Nari started to protest. I said, wait here. The queen's voice was like steel. Ji-hoon followed her through corridors that all looked the same. Cold. Empty. Perfect. They entered a private chamber that was just as cold as the rest of the ship. The queen dismissed her guards and closed the door. She stood at a window that showed the stars beyond. For a long time, she said nothing. Why did you do it? She finally asked. Her back was still to him. Do what? Care for him, a human caring for a Valorian child. It makes no sense. We are enemies. We have been enemies for generations. He was not my enemy, Ji-hoon said simply. He was just a scared child who needed help. The queen turned to face him. Just a scared child, she repeated. You say that like it is simple. No, it is simple. No, it is not. She held up the metal bird. This toy. You made it for him. You spent time and effort creating something just to make a child happy. Why? Because he deserved something that was his. Something made with care. Something that showed someone thought he was special. The queen's hand tightened around the toy. Valorian children are not given toys. They are not coddled or softened. They are raised to be strong, to be warriors and leaders, and to be alone, Ji-hoon said quietly. The queen's eyes flashed with anger, but she did not deny it. I want to understand, she said. I want to understand how a simple human did in 1 week what my empire could not do in years. I want to know why Kael called you safe and warm, why he learned your language, why he wants you, instead of his own family. She stepped closer to Ji-hoon. So I am asking you, human, explain to me what family means. Explain to me what you did that we did not, because I need to understand. I must understand. Ji-hoon looked at the most powerful being in the Valorian Empire, and he saw, beneath the crown and the power, someone who was just as lost as Kael had been. I will try, he said. Ji-hoon sat in a chair that the queen had offered him. She sat across from him, still holding the metal bird. Her posture was perfect, her face controlled, but her hands kept turning the toy over and over, like she could not stop touching it. Start at the beginning, she said. When you found Kael, what did you do first? I gave him water, Ji-hoon said. He was very thirsty. He drank too fast and made himself sick. So I held him while he recovered. You held him. The queen's voice was flat, like she was trying to understand a foreign concept. What does that mean? Tom, I put my arms around him. To make him feel safe. To show him he was not alone. Physical comfort, the queen said. We do not do that with our children. It makes them weak. It makes them feel loved. Ji-hoon replied. There is a difference. There is a difference. There is a difference. The queen was quiet for a moment. Continue. Ji-hoon told her about the 3 days, about how KL was afraid of loud noises and had nightmares, about how he would not eat unless someone sat with him, about the simple things they did together, sharing meals, learning words, making the toy bird. He was so happy when I gave him the toy, Ji-hoon said. He told me no one had ever made something just for him. Is that true? The queen looked away. Valorian children are raised by professional caregivers. They are taught skills. They are prepared for their duties. They are not given frivolous objects. Toys are not frivolous. They are important. They teach children that the world can have joy in it, that someone cares enough to create something just for them. Joy. The queen repeated the word like it was strange. We do not prioritize joy. We prioritize strength, discipline, duty, and love? Ji-hoon asked. Do you prioritize love? The queen's face became hard. Love makes you weak. Love makes you vulnerable. An enemy can use love against you. Love makes you human. Or, I suppose, it makes you alive. Without it, what is the point of strength? What are you protecting if you never care about anything? The queen stood up suddenly. She walked to the window and stared out at the stars. Her shoulders were tense. My sister, she said quietly. Kale's mother. She died when he was very young. She was weak. She cared too much. She loved her child too much. And when enemies came, she sacrificed herself to save him. She died because she loved. She died protecting what mattered most, Ji-hoon said. That is not weakness. That is the strongest thing anyone can do. She left him alone. She left him without a mother. How is that strong? She gave him life. She gave him a chance, and she showed him that he was worth dying for. That is a powerful gift. The queen turned to look at him. Her eyes were bright with something that might have been tears, but she did not let them fall. Kale does not remember her. He was too young. I took over his care. I made sure he was fed, educated, protected. I gave him everything he needed. Everything except what he wanted, Ji-hoon said gently. And what is that? To be held when he is scared. To have someone smile at him. To know that someone thinks he is special just because he exists, not because of what he can do or who he will become. The queen sat down again. She looked tired suddenly, less like a queen and more like a person. When I was a child, she said, her voice softer now, I asked my caregiver why she never hugged me. She told me that physical affection would make me dependent. It would make me weak. So I learned to be strong. I learned to need no one. And are you happy? Ji-hoon asked. The question seemed to surprise her. Happy? I am the queen of the Valorian Empire. I command 1,000 ships. I rule billions of people. Happiness is not important. But are you happy? She looked at him for a long time. Then she said, very quietly, No, I am not. The silence that followed was heavy but not uncomfortable. The queen looked down at the metal bird in her hands. When Kale showed me this toy, she said, he was so excited. He kept saying, made for me, made for me, like it was the most valuable thing in the universe, more valuable than his title, more valuable than his future throne. Why? Because it was a gift given freely, with no expectations. It said, you matter. Not because of what you will do, or who you are supposed to be, but because you are you. And that is enough. A single tear ran down the queen's face. She wiped it away quickly, angrily. This is foolish. I am a queen. Queens do not cry. Why not? Ji-hoon asked. Queens are people too. People have emotions. Hiding them does not make you strong. It just makes you alone. The queen looked at him with something like wonder. How can you be so simple? So Uncomplicated? I am just a maintenance engineer. I fix broken things. And when I found Kale, I saw something broken that needed fixing. Not his body, though that was hurt too, but his heart, his trust, his ability to feel safe. So I tried to fix those things. And you succeeded. In 1 week, you gave him something my entire empire could not give him in years. The Queen stood up and walked back to the window. Do you know what I realized when I saw Kyle with you? When I saw how he looked at you? What? That we have been doing everything wrong. For generations. We thought we were making our children strong by denying them love. But we were just making them empty. We were creating warriors who could fight, but did not know what they were fighting for. We were building an empire with no heart. She turned to face Ji-hoon. You humans. You are weaker than us physically. Your technology is less advanced. Your empire is smaller. By every logical measure, we should be superior to you, but we are not. Because you have something we lost long ago. What is that? You know how to care. You know how to love without fear. You know that strength and compassion can exist together. She walked toward him. I want to learn that. I want my people to learn that. And I want you to teach us. Ji-hoon blinked in surprise. Teach you? I am just a maintenance engineer. Yes, you keep saying that. But you are also the person who saved the heir to the throne not for reward, but because it was right. You are the person who made a child smile who had never known joy. You are the person who showed me that everything I believed was wrong. The Queen knelt down in front of Ji-hoon. It was a shocking gesture. Queens did not kneel. I am asking you, Ji-hoon of Earth, to help me change my empire. Help me teach my people what you taught Kale. Help me bring warmth to the cold ones. Ji-hoon did not know what to say. This was impossible. This was insane. He was just a simple man who fixed air conditioners and water pipes. How could he change an entire alien empire? But then he thought about Kale. About those purple eyes looking up at him with trust. About a small hand holding his. About a smile that broke through years of loneliness. I will try, he said. But I cannot do it alone. I will need help. My friend Nari. Others who understand what I understand. You will have whatever you need. The Queen said. I will make you my personal advisor. You will have authority to make changes. You will have protection. And you will have my support. She stood up and placed the metal bird on the table between them. This toy changed everything. It showed me that the smallest acts of kindness can have the greatest power. That is something worth building an empire on. Ji-hoon picked up the bird. Its metal wings caught the light. Can I see Kale before I leave? Just to say goodbye? The Queen smiled. It was the first real smile he had seen on her face. You are not leaving. You are staying here. And yes, you can see Kale. In fact, I want you to continue teaching him. Show him what you showed me. Show him how to be strong and kind at the same time. She reached out her hand. Ji-hoon took it. Her hand was cold at first. But as they shook, it seemed to warm just a little. Thank you, the Queen said. Thank you for saving my nephew. And thank you for saving me. Ji-hoon squeezed her hand gently. You saved yourself. I just showed you another way, and for the first time in her life, Queen Isul felt something she had never felt before. She felt hope. The Valorian council chamber was enormous and cold. 50 of the Empire's most important leaders sat in perfect rows, their faces showing no emotion. They were generals, admirals, governors, and advisors. They had ruled the Empire with iron discipline for centuries. Now they stared at Ji-hoon, a human standing beside their queen, and they did not understand what was happening. Queen Isul stood at the center of the chamber. Her voice was strong and clear. I have gathered you here to announce a change. Starting today, the Valorian Empire will begin a reformation. We will restructure how we raise our children. We will restructure how we think about strength. We will learn from the humans. The council members looked at each other. One of them, an old general named Vorik, stood up. Your Majesty, with respect, this is madness. The humans are our rivals. Learning from them would be weakness. No, the Queen said firmly. Refusing to learn would be weakness. I have seen what their way can do. This human saved Prince Kale, not with weapons or threats, but with simple kindness. And in doing so, he showed me that we have been starving ourselves of something essential. And what is that? Another council member asked. Love, the Queen said. The word echoed in the chamber. We have spent generations teaching our children to be strong by denying them affection. But we were wrong. We created warriors, yes. But we also created people who do not know what they are fighting for. People who follow orders, but feel nothing. Is that truly strength? The council was silent. Some looked angry. Others looked confused. But a few, just a few, looked thoughtful. I am appointing this human, Ji-hoon, as the first cultural ambassador, the Queen continued. He will work with our caregivers to develop new methods of child rearing, methods that include emotional bonding alongside discipline, methods that teach both strength and compassion. General Vorik slammed his fist on his desk. This is an insult to our traditions. Our traditions have made us cold, the Queen replied. Look at us. We are the most powerful empire in the galaxy. We have the strongest military, the best technology. But when was the last time any of you felt joy? When was the last time you felt connected to another person? When was the last time you smiled? The general opened his mouth to respond but said nothing. He sat down slowly. Change will not happen overnight, the Queen said. But it will happen. Because I command it. And because it is right. She turned to Ji-hoon. Ambassador Ji-hoon, you may speak. Ji-hoon stepped forward. His heart was beating fast. These people were powerful and frightening. But he thought about Kael. He thought about why he was here. I am not a politician, he said. I am not a diplomat. I am just someone who believes that every child deserves to feel safe and loved. I believe that showing kindness is not weakness. It is the greatest strength any person can have. He pulled out the metal bird from his pocket. I made this for Kale because he needed to know that someone cared about him. Not because he is a prince. Not because he will be important one day. But because he is a child, and children need love. He looked around the room. I do not want to destroy your culture. I want to add to it. You have discipline and strength. These are good things. But without warmth, without connection, they are empty. Let me show you how to combine them. Let me show you what you have been missing. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, surprisingly, it was General Vorik who spoke first. I have a grandson, he said quietly. I have seen him twice in his life. Both times, he stood at attention and recited his training progress. He did not smile. He did not laugh. He just reported his status like a soldier. The general's voice cracked slightly. I told myself this was good. This was how it should be. But when I saw Prince Kale return, when I saw how he reached for you, human, I wondered. I wondered if my grandson might be happier if someone held him the way you held the prince. Other council members began to nod. Slowly at first, then with more certainty. The Queen smiled. Then we begin today. The next 3 years changed the Valorian Empire in ways no one could have predicted. Ji-hoon worked with teams of Valorian caregivers, teaching them what he knew. Nari came from Haven's Rest to help establish medical and psychological protocols. Doyoon and Sora joined them too, bringing other humans who understood the importance of emotional development. At first, the changes were small. Caregivers were taught to hold children when they cried, instead of leaving them to toughen up. They were encouraged to speak gently, instead of just giving orders. They learned to play simple games with the children. The results were remarkable. Valorian children who had been quiet and withdrawn began to laugh. They began to show curiosity instead of just obedience. They began to ask questions and explore. Some of the older Valorians resisted. They said the children were becoming soft, but even they could not deny that something was changing. The children were still learning to be strong. They still trained in combat and studied strategy. But now, they also learned why these things mattered. They learned to protect, not because it was their duty, but because they loved their people. Ji-hoon spent most of his time with Kael. The young prince became his constant companion. Ji-hoon taught him about human culture, and Kael taught him about Valorian history. They ate meals together. They went on walks through the ship's gardens. They talked about everything and nothing. One day, Kael asked him a question. "Uncle Ji-hoon, why did you save me? You did not know I was a prince. You thought I was just a regular child. Why did you help?" Ji-hoon thought about his answer carefully. "Because you needed help. That is all that mattered. Not who you were, not what you could give me, just that you needed someone, and I could be that someone." Kael hugged him. "I love you, Uncle Ji-hoon." It was the first time Ji-hoon had heard a Valorian say those words. He hugged Kael back. "I love you too." The queen saw this exchange from a doorway. She smiled and walked away quietly, leaving them to their moment. Queen Isul had changed too. She laughed now, something her guards had never heard before. She spent time with Kael, not to check his progress, but just to be with him. She learned to show affection in small ways. A hand on his shoulder, a smile of approval, a word of encouragement. She called her reforms the compassion movement. Other empires watched with interest and skepticism. Would the Valorians become weak? Would their military power fade? But the opposite happened. Valorian soldiers fought with new purpose. They protected not because they were ordered to, but because they wanted to protect their loved ones. They were still strong, still disciplined, but now they had hearts. 3 years after Ji-hoon first found Kael in that tunnel, he stood in a new place. It was a colony, jointly run by humans and Valorians. Children of both species played together in a garden. They laughed and shouted and ran without fear. Nari stood beside him, watching. "You know," she said, "when I first saw you carry that alien child into my medical bay, I thought you were crazy." Ji-hoon smiled. "Maybe I was. No. You were brave. You were kind. And you changed the galaxy. I just did what anyone should do, but most people would not have. That is what makes it special." They watched a Valorian child fall and scrape her knee. A human child ran over to help her up. They hugged, and both ran off to play again. "Uncle Ji-hoon," a voice called. Kael ran up, now taller and stronger, but still the same happy child. He was not alone. 3 other Valorian children followed him. "Look what I made." He held up a toy, something he had built himself. It was a spaceship made from metal and painted bright colors. "That is beautiful," Ji-hoon said. "I made one for each of my friends," Kael said proudly, "because everyone should have something special that is just theirs." Ji-hoon felt his throat tighten with emotion. Kael had learned the lesson perfectly. Queen Isul approached them. She looked different now, softer somehow, but no less powerful. "Ambassador Ji-hoon, I wanted to thank you. Again, you thank me every time we meet, Your Majesty, and I will continue to do so, because you gave me back something I did not know I had lost." She looked at the playing children. "You gave us all back. Our humanity, or I suppose, our personhood. You did the hard part," Ji-hoon said. "You had the courage to change. All I did was show you another way. You showed us the right way." She touched his shoulder, a gesture of affection she had learned to give. "I have been asked to send a message to the human government, from the Valorian Empire to Earth. May I share it with you first?" "Of course." The Queen smiled. It says, "You returned a lost child to us. But in doing so, you helped us find our lost selves. Humanity's greatest power is not in your weapons or your ships. It is in your hearts. And for that, we are forever grateful." Ji-hoon watched the children play. Human and Valorian together, laughing together, learning together, growing together. He thought about that day 3 years ago when he found a scared child in a dark tunnel. He had just wanted to help. He had not thought about empires or politics or changing the galaxy. He had just thought, this child needs someone. And that simple thought, that simple act of kindness, had created ripples that spread across the stars. Kale ran back to him and grabbed his hand. "Come play with us, Uncle Ji-hoon." Ji-hoon let himself be pulled into the garden. The queen watched him go, still smiling. Around them, the galaxy continued to turn. But it was a warmer galaxy now. A kinder galaxy. All because one person chose compassion over fear. All because one person believed that every child, no matter where they came from, deserved to be loved. And in the end, that made all the difference.